اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق وهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره وقدر العظيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما. الحمد لله رب العالمين. أفضل الصلاة وتم تسليما على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. ورضي الله تعالى عن السادة التابعين علماء عاملين وأئمة أربعين مجتهدين مقلديهم إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Welcome to another The Soullutionz podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Imam Muhammad Abdullah Ameen, along with Amir Khalil Abdullahi and brother Saleh Abdul Mujeeb. Tonight's discussion is titled Black Over That. Does black culture subhanallah, does black culture override the Sunnah or Arab culture? Right? Black over the Sunnah or Arab culture. Black over that. That is what is referring to Sunnah or Arab culture. First, we have to define and clarify what is meant by black culture. What is black culture by definition? Is black culture just our music or music genres, or our food, or our clothing, or our mannerisms, or our moral structures, or our cultural, our customs, right? You know, what is black culture? What is defined by black culture? Now, everything that's related to black culture in America is actually a subculture, because we don't initially have a culture in the sense of being cultural customs. For example, you have Indian people or Chinese people, right? Or Japanese people or Mongolian people or Han people, right? That originally they're all included in Asian culture. They have different cultures and customs. The Pakistani and Indian, Pakistani, Bengali, and Kashmiri, they're all Indian. They're all Indian. The Afghanis, the Afghanistanians, they're separate people. They're separate people. They're not a part of the Indo-Pak diaspora. When we talk about black culture, we're really referring to what we have adapted after slavery, because many of us we don't have any idea of what black culture is, right? It's been, you know, saying one for when you identify as black, you're identifying as having a social status. That's what black is. It's a social status. White is a social status. It's not necessarily skin color. You look at the Arab culture, or the customs that's customary among the Arabs, that is customary among the Arabs, is that when they look at when they mention white, they're not talking about European. They're actually talking about light-skinned, melanated people, right? When they talking about black, they're they're actually talking about a status as well. They're actually talking about a status as well. I mean, it's you're a darker complected person. However, you may possibly be Arab, right? Because originally, the original Arabs, they were considered they are melanated people. You look at the Thailand people. They're generally melanated people, right? Among these different Asians, you have the light complected people, and you have the dark complected people, right? The Thailands, you have the light skinned Thailands, you have the dark skinned Thailands, you have you have the light skinned Chinese, and you have the dark Chinese, you have the light skinned Indians, and you have the purple black Indians. So um, as it relates to a culture and customs, as it relates to culture and customs, you're you have to identify with a nation of people, right? You have to identify with a nation of people. I'm not black. I don't identify with being black, right? If my blackness is related to the things that I've experienced and went through in my life and my upbringing from my family, then I'm not black at all, right? And according to my family history on both sides, right? On both sides, according to what was transmitted to me, no one in my history was a slave. Allegedly, no one in my family history was a slave. So I wouldn't be included. I would be included in one who is defined in what is meant by black culture. And when you look at the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he was Arab, and his Sunnah is what is his actions. He's what he approved of, and what he was silent about, and his silence was approval, right? What he said, his mu'amalat, his practice, right? Customs, customs and morals that he was raised under, his his character, and his mannerisms is solely due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless creating him in a fashion to where he's the best of the best of the creation. Not just the mankind, he's the best of the creation, right? Mankind, jinn, and whatever race, whatever other species of humanoid that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created. And when I say humanoid, I'm talking about aliens too, if such a thing exists. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So when we look at that, so when we look at the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you would have Arab culture blended into his Sunnah. And I'm not talking about dress, because the thobes that we wear today, the thobes that we wear, they didn't wear these type of thobes during the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They didn't wear these garments that we're wearing. The type of garments, the type of thobes that we're wearing are actually Persian. They're not Arab. The dress of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was to wear a shirt and the izar. He didn't wear pants. He didn't wear pantaloons, right? He wore izar and a kameez and a shirt, a turban, a cloak, um, a cloak, or subhanallah, salli ala sayyidina Muhammad, a shawl, right? You know, so that's the dress of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, so his sunnah and style of dress is what he wore. Now the Sahaba, the Sahaba, they wore pants, they wore pantaloons, they wore izars too. But the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he never wore pants. Right? So you have the Moroccan style thobe, which is really, you know what I'm saying, the part of West African culture. You have the Nigerian jubba and the Ghanaian jubba. You have, you know what I'm saying, the West African dress, Senegalese dress, all of these styles of dress, dress are are related to the sunnah of covering the aura, to look like a Muslim. And to look like a Muslim, you have to think like a Muslim. You have to act like a Muslim. You have to behave like a Muslim. And what is behaving like a Muslim? Trying to implement and imitate Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in word, deed, and thought. And how we gonna apply or inculcate black culture to override that, right? Is it in our food? Is black culture our food? Right? What food is black culture? If anything, it's a subculture, or the scraps that the slaves used to eat from, that they used to eat, what that their slave masters gave them. Hog mogs and chitlins. Is that black culture? I don't think so. Right? So if you're gonna define black culture as being that we're a people, right? That we're a people, then what does that have to do with the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companions, they were from different nations and tribes. What tribe we come from? I'm speaking in general now. What tribe do the Black American come from? 30% of the slaves that was brought over here from Africa. There was 30% of the slaves that was brought over here from Africa was Muslim. What was the other 70%? Christianity wasn't spread throughout Africa during that time. It came later. The only Christian nation during that time in Africa was in Ethiopia. It was still Christians in Ethiopia during after the first Hijra. Even when you look at the letter that the Prophet ﷺ wrote to Najashi, or the Negus, what that he wrote, and the reply, the letter that he wrote to the Negus was actually a prophetic letter. Prophesy what is meant by it is that Islam is going to spread throughout Africa. It's going to spread throughout the Maghreb. And the Prophet ﷺ referred to the black lands as Ardul Habasha, with a multitude of cultures and tribes and languages and people. What's the Black Americans' language? English, Ebonics, Nigbonics, Niglish. All right. So when you define black, when we get to the point where we can define black culture and try to build a movement off of that, we're not going to be successful, because you can't build a movement off of being black. You can build a movement off the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, where countless movements in history have been established and built on the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Countless movements has been built off of it, built off the Sunnah. Many different empires, dynasties in Bilad Sudan and the West Africa and East Africa, they was Muslim dynasties. Or we gonna define black culture as slavery, right? Or we gonna define it as that? We can honestly say that black culture is a dwarf, been cut off at the top, cut off at the roots, and transplanted in America and Europe. Kamaqala Imam Musa alayhi salat, rahmatullah alayhi, from Oakland, California, that returned to Allah a couple of years back. I remember him giving a khutbah where he had mentioned that so we're cut off at the top, we're cut off at the roots, and we transplanted in America. So the black people are dwarfs. Don't know what your culture is. Look at every movement in history in the 20th century, in the early 20th century. What was the motivation of them building their movement? It was on one, being black, and two, self-determination. Self-determination. To override the illnesses that seeped into our people during slavery. Can't build nothing. Can't maintain consistent leadership. Can't appoint a leader and hear and obey the leader, and don't do any acts of betrayal. So, in the words of one of my Sahaba, Amir Rashad Amariki, Islam is a revolutionary structure, and the source of that revolutionary structure is the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The foundation of that revolutionary structure is the Book of Allah. Imam Jamil Ameen wrote a book 25 years ago called Revolution by the Book. What is the book he's talking about? He's talking about the Book of Allah. Revolution by the Book of Allah. Simultaneous with the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So no, black culture does not override the Sunnah. Or perspectives of Arab culture. Because when you talk about Arab culture, what Arabs are you talking about? There are two types of Arab. Well, there's actually three types of Arabs. They're the original Arabs. They're the Arabized Arabs. and there are the Arabs who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed with the demand and with the command of the language. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was an Arabized Arab. Ismail alayhi salatu wasalam was Mesopotamian. Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was Mesopotamian. That's the ancient name of Iraq, Mesopotamia, from the Tigris and Euphrates Valley. What language was they speaking? They were speaking Aramic. The first person known in history to speak Arabic was the Prophet Hud alayhi salatu wasalam. It was 3 other Arab prophets before the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Prophet Hud was one of them. Also Saleh. The Prophet Hud, the Prophet Saleh, and Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad. Prophet Hud, Prophet Saleh. The fourth one slips me. You know, so what? So how are we going to rectify this situation that we're dealing with as a people? We can't come together and agree on anything. So how are we going to rectify what Black culture is? Before we can even get to the point of how it can or can't override the Sunnah or Arab culture. One minute. Is Black culture our food? Right? Is it our food? I don't eat hog mogs and chitlins. When I eat meat, I eat the Thhhaat Islamiyah, the Thhhaat Halal Islamiyah, which is an obligation by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran. It's an obligation. It's not a fada'il. It's not a sunnah. It's an obligation. It's wajib. I don't care what scholars push you towards the rukhsah. And the rukhsah, the dispensation, is eating the food from the people of the book, from the Jews and the Christians. There's a lot of clarifying comes with that. Comes with that. Eating food from the Jews and the Christians. Me being a Maliki, I know that Imam Malik, he hated that. He hated for anyone to eat the meat from the Christians and from the Jews and the Christians when there's meat from the Muslims that are available. The same scholar that had quoted that from Imam Malik is the same scholar that some people that are Maliki get a lesser opinion from. A Shah's opinion. The Shah's opinion is not the Maliki method as it relates to eating the biha halal Islamiyah. So black culture is not the food. It's not halal food. Halal
what I
food
miss,
is
what I miss, Abu Muhammad.
Man, it's your topic. You're supposed to been on here.
Man,
you supposed to been on here first. I ain't trying to hear. So get in where you fit in, man.
Listen. I was at Cuba School 8 and them.
Oh,
too,
I
man,
ain't trying
so,
to hear no excuses. I know where you was at.
I mean, so I'm trying to,
I know where you was at.
I'm just trying to be a service to everybody,
one of them backdoor sit downs you was at.
Nah, nah, man. He had me, talking, and but one of my things, and I ain't with the cliched is marriage stuff, man. I'm with trying to get us to learn proper Islam, but yeah, I'm sorry y'all for coming on late. Alhamdulillah. Right. So if you want me to jump in and start throwing some punches, I mean, I like jumping people. You know what I mean?
Go ahead, because I already fired some shots. I got more shots, but go ahead, jump in.
Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Once again, y'all, assalamu alaikum. Forgive me, y'all. Like I said, I'm trying just to aid, I'm aiding, to be a better person myself. You know what I mean? So these acts that I'm doing is, to purify my heart myself. But Abu Muhammad is absolutely right? That this was my topic, and I think this is a very important topic, right? Due to us, right, due to us, right? Due to us constantly speaking about, well, we're in this month of the Black History Month, you know what I mean? And we're starting to see a lot of stuff now that people are indulging so much into their blackness that we're negating what is legislated through the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet Sallallahu. As Abu Muhammad spoke about, eating zabiha, you know what I mean? He spoke of the ruksa, that, eating from the people of the book. Now, Imam Malik spoke about, just eating halal, right? If we think about, all the slogans that we say, if we're going to talk about, culture, right? Think about the stuff we say culturally. You are what you eat, right? You heard that before, Abu Muhammad, right? You are what you eat. You know what I mean? So imagine that we eat nothing but bad, right? We eat nothing but bad. And that's what we continuously do. We're eating nothing but bad. So with our, by our culture, we're consumed so much evil acts that we don't know how to fix ourselves, right? And what I mean by this is that, we go against so much of Islam due to our culture, right? Right? We'll get on the stand. We say stuff like, I'm going to get on the stand and I'm going to lie for my people. But what did the Prophet ﷺ say? Speak the truth even if it's against yourself. Right? How many of us can really honestly say we're truthful? Right? How many of us can honestly say that we're going to be just in our actions? How many of us going to say that, right? Or do the dunya negate all the, our belief system when it comes to Islam? And we can really say is the latter, right? Is that it negates our belief. And this is why we're stuck in the position that we are now, that none of us are learning the religion. None of us really care about learning the religion, right? None of us put our good step forward of trying to learn the religion because what? We just stuck on, we're stuck on dunya. And I said, just to piggyback off of Abu Muhammad, you know what I mean? We'll attend a barbecue with all haram meat just to be down with the good folk, right? Just to be indulgent in all the other activities of everybody else, right? And we'll say this is our culture. We get down, we do stuff like this, you know what I mean? And there's nothing but haram meat there. Pause, man, pause, because I know some New Yorkers watching. I'm talking about meat, man. But hitting the head food products. Hitting the head food products, you know what I mean? So we got to ask ourselves, man, are we really practicing Islam as we should? Right? And, I just think about it, all the time. Like our marriages are failing because we can't stick to the script of Islam. Right? That we indulge in so many more activities. You know what I mean? And, just think about one of the posters that I put up, that, saying that, the Muslims, that we check, especially the men, we check our kufis at the door. Once we leave prison, you know, and we back trying to mix the streets with Islam, right? And it's the same thing with our women. Now, you know, we're in this gender war so much that we're in this gender war so much that, you know, we're leaving Islam because we feel as though the dunya has more to offer us. That the dunya has more to offer us. We run right back to the thing that we ran from, right? So we feel as though the dunya has way more to offer us than Islam does, right? This man bashing, especially when I say man bashing, it's basically saying that the Muslim brothers ain't ish. So who's better than the Muslim men? I want to ask you, I want y'all to, you know, to answer that. Who's better than the Muslim men then? Who's better than us? Right? Because if we saying that the people of Jahiliyyah is better than us, right, then we believe that the dunya, right, that, as I say in the and you know, in the thumb, you know, the topic that we're discussing now is that is more important than our religion. You know what I mean? That, you know, is more men that's better than us that's out there than the people that, you know, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is preserving the religions from. So, you know, we really got to, you know, we really have to evaluate ourselves. We really have to check ourselves, right? And the main way we check ourselves is acquiring Islamic knowledge, right? We were just talking about that just now in the masjid, you know what I mean? Where, you know, like I said, you know, I hate talking this marriage stuff. To me, this marriage stuff is weak to me, right? It's weak to me because we don't even know if we're praying right. We don't know if we're doing anything correctly, but we constantly talk about getting with somebody and sleeping with somebody and bringing us inside of the madness that we have, right? Pray your five, right? You barely pray your five. You don't know how to teach nobody how to pray, right? But we're talking about bringing somebody in our shenanigans. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and then that's, you know, and I don't want to, like I said, I just don't want to feel as though I'm just talking about the men, but even with our sisters struggle inside themselves, they're covering, but you talk about you want a husband. What husband is going to tolerate that? What husband is going to tolerate Jahiliyyah? You know what I mean? So we got to ask ourselves, what is more important to us? What is more important to us? You know what I mean? So, you know, Abu Muhammad, you could tag in. I'll jump right back in with you. What do you think? What do you think? Well, why do you think, Abu Muhammad, that Jahiliyyah is so important? I mean, it seems like Jahiliyyah is called, you know, is capturing our people back more than Islam is more than Islam is now. What do you think, Abu Muhammad? I can't hear you.
My mic was muted. You know, we don't. Islam is not important. Islam is not important. That's the problem. Being a Muslim is reduced to just saying you Muslim without any actions, without anything to prove it. And so it results in not praying, not fasting, smoking crack, smoking weed, tooting cocaine, popping pills, drinking alcohol, smoking wet, but claiming to be Muslim. Halfway even knowing who you're supposed to believe in. Don't really believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nonetheless, believe in Allah's promise of reward or punishment. That's the problem. The mind state of not the mind state is not a Muslim. Have no spiritual market value whatsoever. Listen, look at some of the practices, some of the beliefs that Muslims creeped into. horoscope, horoscope, crystals, infinity stones, numbers. Don't get me wrong. Words have there's words that have numeric value. There's words that have numeric value. However, it's still all related to something. It's nothing in the book in the Sunnah that proves Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim is 786. There's not an ayat, not a hadith that Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim has the numeric value of 786. Nothing. But the numeric value of names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and names of the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the numeric value of every name is related to a particular tarbiyah that people that are from particular tariqas, their shuyukh have formulated these numeric values to give you the indication of how many times you repeat a particular name, or how many times you repeat a particular ayat. That's a dua. And the bottom line is just the consistency in reciting it, of keeping the tongue wet with it. What's the tarbiyah before you go to sleep? The Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he used to recite the four ayatul kursi and the four kuls, and blow on his hands and wipe his whole body with it. Wipe his whole body to the extent of where his hands would go. 3 times. Everything was in 3s. Just like my Abi used to say, all good things come in 3s. That's why he had 3 wives. So yeah, that's really the issue. Even related to eating haram meat. You know what I'm saying? Even our learning, right? Our learning what Islam is founded on. The hadith of Jibril. We have so much emphasis on having a correct aqidah and practicing a method, following a method, but no spiritual tarbiyah whatsoever. No encouragement of consistently making tawbah. No encouragement of praying supererogatory prayers and sunnah prayers. No encouragement of making dua after every salah, and making a weird awrah for ourselves with reading the Quran. Reading Yasin after Salatul Subh. Reading Muk after Salatul Dhuhr or Salatul Isha. Reading Surah Waqiyah after Salatul Maghrib. Making dhikr between Asr and Maghrib. Making dhikr after praying Salatul Subh, before reading Surah Yasin. All of these are spiritual tarbiyah that the Muslims don't engage in, because we're so caught up on how we look or how a Muslim's supposed to look instead of making it important on how a Muslim is supposed to act and think. It's more important on how a Muslim's supposed to act than it and think than it is how we dress and how we dress. It's more important. It's more important on eating the biha halal if we're gonna eat meat than it is for just eating anything. Many of us think that if we eat some meat that's not pork, that we ain't eating pork. It's the same. Haram meat is just the exact same as eating pork. Just like tooting cocaine and smoking crack and tooting heroin is the same as drinking alcohol. It's an intoxicant.
Abu Muhammad, don't you know I was in ShopRite today, right? By my house, right? So I walk up to the shop, right? I walk up to the what is that? The deli section, right? And I'm like, what's going on, y'all? May I ask y'all a question? They're like, sure. I said, do y'all sell, halal lunch meat here? And this is in Jersey, right? He said, no, we don't sell no halal lunch meat, but the best thing I can do is, is cut it for you on a cheese cutter. Right? So I was thinking to myself, like, dang, how many other people said, okay, yeah, just do that, and then took the meat and just ate it and said Bismillah over it. People, right? The meat and just ate. It was shocking to me. You feel what I'm saying? It was shocking to me, and I was like, wow. As you said, eating halal meat is important. It's a significant. It's important because it's legislated in the Quran. Haram for you is these particular type of food, right? But because who we are, that we think, how we look, if we have the long beard and the thobe that come up to the ankles or to the calf, that's sufficient enough for us. And let's even be realistic. If the meat was hit over his head with a hard blow, you can't eat that type of food no matter what it says. And when we think about the people of the book during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, they slaughtered the animal with their own hands and said, in the name of Allah, well, whatever language they spoke of. So it's completely different than what we're eating now. This food is being zapped in his head with electrical guns, hit in the head with all that stuff. And even some of these, even these halal places are cutting the necks of the meat with machinery object instead of with a knife. So let's be realistic, right? How much do we care about our religion to do that, right? If we don't care about that, right, and we just go eat whatever we want to eat, are we really going to care about our personal obligations, the salat, right? The salat. And I'm talking to myself first, too. How many of us try to read the Quran at least once a month? How many of us? We won't read the Quran, but we'll watch Raising Cain, whatever his name is, Raising Cain.
Wait, right? Are you talking about reading the surah of the Quran once a month, or completing the reading of the Quran once a month?
Completing the Quran once a month.
Nobody does that.
And you heard what I said, at least.
Nobody does that. Nobody does that. If everybody did that, completed the Quran once a month, they wouldn't have any spiritual illnesses. They wouldn't have anxiety. They wouldn't have depression. They wouldn't have any of that. Because the Quran is a shifa, and it removes all of them illnesses that are related to the mind and the heart. Everything will be easy in this. Everything will be easy in Islam and practicing the Sunnah. Everything. There was a woman. I forgot her name, but she was one of the 80 the 85. She wasn't from the family of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, but she was one of the servants of the family of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and she was one of the captives from from Karbala. And she at one point in her life, she only spoke the Quran. Someone would ask her a question, she would answer with an ayat of the Quran. And her two sons had explained that at one portion of her life, she got into that state to where she only answered with an ayat from the Book of Allah. Man, I forgot her name, but she was a African woman. She was an African woman. Well, she may have been an Arab, but she was a melanated woman. So she must have gotten to that state after she became married and widowed, because she had children. So you look, imagine an individual who completes the reading of the Quran every month, and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, from the virtue of them completing the Quran every month, Allah Ta'ala gave them the ability to memorize much of the Quran, because memorization comes from consistent repetition. It comes from repetition. One of the rights that the Book of Allah have on us is that we complete its reading once a month. At the maximum, that's the right one of the rights that the Book of Allah have on us, that we complete its reading once a month. The minimum is that we recite something from it every day, or read something from it every day, outside of the Salah, because Salah is reading. When you recite the Quran, and the Salah is still reading. But outside of the Salah, actually opening the Quran and reading a juz a day, or a hifz a day. If you read a hifz a day, you'll complete the reading of the Quran in 2 months. Depending on the qira'ah that you're reading the Quran in, because it's 10 different qira'ah.
Y'all better stick to half.
No, you could, don't limit it to half.
No. I'm saying that because that's the only one you can kind of get, busy with speed. Because a lot of them other recitations, man, them joints is nice and mellow and slow for you. But alhamdulillah, you're right,
even with helps, you can't recite that. You can't read that fast. You can't read it fast. You got some rules that you have 2 count. You have some rules you have 4 count. So you can't read it fast.
Or 6 count. But yeah, you're right, man. I'm with you, man.
That's worse. 6 count.
Well, not really, because if you think, man, if I go if I say Alif Lam, that's up to 6 beats. And half. But mashallah, that's here or there. That's we need to get back in just reciting the Quran, man, and falling in love with reading the Quran, man. And like you said, as a shifa, as a healing, man, we all need that, man. Think about every sin that we do every day. Whether it's something we say harshly with our tongues, Whether it's somewhere we've been that we ain't supposed to be, if it's something we touched that we ain't supposed to touch, right? Just think about that, man. Just really think about that. And then just like I said, just think about, the honor that we showed, dunya over Islam. What we put ourselves in, what we do, right? The time we spend over the things we could be doing to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and loving the messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Like I said, I'm talking to myself first. I could talk about every other thing besides the things that I need to talk about sometimes. And I need to be remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala much. Me, myself, I need it for my own soul. I don't know if my ibadah is being accepted. I don't know if anything I do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is being accepted. I don't know. And on top of that, I might be adding more bad deeds to my scale by talking about frivolous things. We don't know. So how can we pick anything else over that when our lives is at stake? Our lives is at stake. Do we realize that? Do we realize that when somebody break our heart, and this is to the sisters, that you take your overgarment off and go do something and you die in that state? Or brothers, your pockets is empty and you go put that ski mask on and you die in that state? Do you understand what may come? What may come? We would toss our akhirah away for a 30-second instant gratification. So we really have to evaluate what is more important to us. What is more important to us? The culture that we grew up in that is filled with haram and pleasures of the shaitan, or what Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said is best for us? Because half of us know what's out there. Right? Half of us know what's out there. Some of us was in the streets. And again, I just read what you put. There's 4 people watching and only 2 likes. Right? Just think about that. But if we was talking about something crazy right now, if we were talking about something crazy, 40 people will be watching, trying to see the latest gossip, what they talking about. But our akhirah is not that important. What's today? Saturday? What's on Hulu right now? What's on Hulu right now? What we watching on Netflix right now at 10 o'clock? Something that could be held accountable on our scale. And we don't give a rat dirty squat about it. Allahu A'lam, man. Allah knows best, man. Allah knows best. So we gotta tighten up. We really gotta tighten up. And I'm talking to myself first. And where Imam Khalil light-skinned self at, man? Imam Khalil, you always asking where everybody at. Where you at, man? Where you at? You ain't outside.
MashaAllah. Guess my brother got disconnected. So, so what's the solution, right? What's the solution? The solution is be Muslim. Learn your Islam and practice it. Truly submit. Submit to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Stop submitting to your nafs. Stop submitting to your desires. Learn, gain knowledge, and practice it. What's 50% of dawah? And I'm only saying 50% because majority of the Muslims ain't practicing Islam. 50% of dawah is your practice, your change. How the people seeing how Islam changed you. You ain't the same Tony on the block. You ain't the same Shaquita in the strip club. You're not that anymore. Your family is consistently paying attention to how Islam has changed you. Islam is about change. I remember this elder sister, she said, if Islam can't change you, nothing can change you. If Islam can't change you, nothing can change you. And it's not Islam that changes you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala changes you. Because you change the condition of your thinking. You change the condition of your heart. Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change themselves. And Allah, then he changes their condition once they change themselves. So that's the solution. Stop practicing this fairy tale Islam. Islam is real. It's not a fairy tale. This deen is real. Allah is real. Jannah is real. The hellfire is real. Munkar Nakir is real. The grave is real. The grave is real. The Kawthar is real. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's promise is true. Of his reward and his punishment is true. Every day we're getting closer to Yom Qiyamah. Every day. Every day we're getting closer and closer to the grave. We don't have any time to play. We don't have any time to waste. We don't have more time. Stop listening to Shaitan that you got a partnership with. Stop listening. Read the Shama'il of Imam Tirmidhi. Read the Shifaf Qadi Iyad. Learn about the character of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Learn about the mannerisms and the dress of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. If you see the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the dream, before you die, you're gonna sleep. You're gonna see him in an awakened state. Sleep is not beneficial if you ain't seeing the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. If you're not living this deen, you ain't gonna see him in an awakened state. So that's, you know what I'm saying, that's enough of my ranting and my 2 cents on the topic of discussion tonight. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala mursalin. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin bi rahmatika arhamar rahimin wa salatu wassalam ala rasulil kareem. Ameen.